I'm going to take a breath, hold it, come up. Just like that. That is efficient movement. There's no going forward, no going back, straight up and down. With the deadlift, there's a lot of variety. You can use 2 bells, you can use a hex bar, you can deadlift anything.
Hello everyone, I'm here with Dr. Donald Berry and we're going to talk about kettlebell training, how to use kettlebells properly, and also the most common mistakes people make. So Dr. Berry, it is all you now.
All right, thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it. I'm going to introduce you to the first kettlebell exercise that Strong First or RKC, which are the 2 big kettlebell training organizations, would recommend, and that's going to be the deadlift. I love the deadlift for rehabilitating my patients with low back pain. It teaches them how to use their core, and most importantly, how to move through their hips. People don't know how to move through their hips, and I'll demonstrate it from the side here. If I'm moving through the hips, I'm doing this. This is moving from the waist, and this is the problem. People lift like this instead of squatting, picking it up. They don't know how to use their hips, and so they use their back and they get injured. So I'm going to start off with just demonstrating how to learn how to hip hinge. And the best way, really the simplest way, we're going to start off with just what we call a tall kneel. This is called a half kneel. This is called a tall kneel. So from the tall kneeling position, I'm going to move through my hips and touch my butt against my feet. This is a hip hinge, and it's critical to have good hip mobility. We don't use it enough in Western cultures because we sit in chairs all the time and we don't have to squat and move properly. Just the way it is. So the second thing is, this is from Dr. McGill, and he does what he calls a short stop position. How to learn how to hinge. Stick your butt out, glide those hands on the knees. This is an excellent way of learning what comes first, okay? Now, we're going to talk about the deadlift a little bit, and how even if you don't have a kettlebell, it's about the movement. Just like I said, when I started off in this journey, this is what I started off with: 12 kilograms, 26 pounds. And that's how I learned to do the movement. And now I'm lifting 450 pounds in this position. I didn't do it overnight. It takes a long time. Pavel has a saying that I really like. He says, strength is a skill. It's something you have to work at and train. You train the movement, then you load the movement pattern, and you work with it patiently and slowly, and that's how you get strong. So I'm going to demonstrate a kettlebell deadlift. So you're going to lose my head on some of these, but my head doesn't matter. It's my hips that I want you to watch. So I'm standing in a position. I'll do it this way first. Back up to the mat. Okay, so you can see me better now. I'll work on the mat. So when I'm doing a deadlift, that bell is in between my ankles. Stand in an athletic position, toe out a little bit, okay? And now you're ready to start the deadlift. What we do is we hip hinge, and I'm going to do it from the side too. So once you get it, stick that butt out. Stick that butt out. Keep your weight shifted back. My whole foot is on the ground, but I don't want to tip backwards, because you have a tendency to do that. But keep your weight shifted back, pushing the knees apart, lifting the chest. Then we go down, grab the weight, and come up. Now the important part of this, when we do it from the side, you can see how far the hips go back. And then I'm sitting. A lot of people, the big mistake that a lot of people make is they start moving and then they finish with this. Now my powerlifting coach, Marty Gallagher, says the deadlift is a fantastic leg exercise, but most people do it incorrectly and turn it into a bad back exercise. So you don't want to use your back. You don't want to come over here, bend, and pick up. That's the wrong way of doing it. So as I get down, I stick that butt out, I rock back a little bit, I sit, I grab the kettlebell, I come up, and I squeeze my glutes top, go back down slowly, control it, come up fast. It's a slow movement, and it's the same, whether I'm using a kettlebell or a bar. The movement pattern is the same. The kettlebell is the easiest way to learn. You don't have a bar scraping your shins. You start out light. I wouldn't recommend going lower than 26 pounds because your legs are incredibly strong, you know, and you can lift 26 pounds. Your arms are ropes. You're not lifting it like that. You're just lifting it with your hip. Let the hip do the work. The top of a, at the top of the deadlift, here, back up a little bit. Here, so sitting back, boom, lock the hips. Another big mistake that people make is they lean back, and that causes back pain because you're causing the joints of the back to imbricate and jam up. You don't want to do that. So the cues that I give my clients come from Dr. Mark Chang. They're very simple. Stand erect, kettlebell between your feet. Start your hip hinge. So he calls this the first pry because you're prying as you go down. You're prying the knees open and you're prying the chest up. So you keep your body erect and your lumbar spine in neutral. Now, I'm going to move the camera a little bit and I'm going to show you a little trick. So bear with me just 1 second. See where I'm standing? This is one of the best things Pavel teaches. The door is your coach. The wall is your coach. Because if you cheat, if you're doing this incorrectly, if you bend with your knees, you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to hit the door. If you bend at the waist, well, you're going to break your nose. So here I am, all the way up, and I want you guys to see this, where my feet are. My toes are on the door. You can hear it. I'm going to take a breath, hold it, come up. Just like that. That is efficient movement. There's no going forward, no going back, straight up and down. With the deadlift, there's a lot of variety. You can use 2 bells. You can use a hex bar. You can deadlift anything. You know, you can deadlift a sack of potatoes. You know, anything you got around the house. You don't need to buy a kettlebell right off the bat. Right now, it's hard to get any exercise equipment because of COVID and all the embargoes and everything that went on with the pandemic. These are the points to prevent hurting your back while you're lifting. A lot of people get injured lifting because mostly they're fatigued and they've done a work set and they should have stopped at 3, but they decided to push it for a 5-rep set. That's too much and they get hurt. That's just fatigue. And with strength training, a couple of points. You have to be patient. You know, it's a process. It takes years to develop technique. And, you know, Pavel says strength is a skill. So you're practicing, training. You're focused on your mechanics during the movement. And so I'm going to go over it again and just talk about a couple more things, in particularly the breathing. Okay? So for me, because I am a power lifter, I breathe the same way. I'm going to take my breath at the top. Big breath, because that's what stabilizes everything, okay? Blow out. Touch the carpet, come up. I keep that breath in because that activates the core. And for a good explanation of the core is, it's everything between the pelvic floor and the diaphragm and everything in between. That's your core. That's the best way to think of it. It's a cylinder, and you fill it with air, bracing to protect your spine while you're lifting. This is something that you want to start out slowly with a lightweight like I did. And I just used to do 5 sets of 5. Very simple, resting in between each set and making sure my form is good. And if you have any questions, just write your questions to us and somebody will get back to you. I'll get back to you and go over any tips you want. You can shoot me videos even if you want. I'll be glad to critique it and give you tips on better strategies. To me, when I get a patient from acute pain, not able to really walk very well because they're having spasms or other things, I get rid of the pain and the spasms in that acute phase. We start deadlifting right away because it's the number one way I know to work on what's called posterior chain, with your hams, your glutes, and your upper back, just to be nice and firm, tight, have your tension, controlled tension. And that's basically it for the deadlift. The hex bar deadlift is a good one to start, so you don't have to scrape up your shins on the regular bar. But again, kettlebells can come in a variety of sizes. Gosh, I think they've got them up to 200-pound kettlebells. But if I'm lifting 200-pound kettlebells, it's kind of like, why not just use the bar? It's kind of hard to lug these things around. I do like doing with double kettlebells. It gets a wider stance, and anybody can do that. But the basic first exercise you're going to learn is how to deadlift. Now, there's one other thing I want to go over, and I because I mentioned it being the top of the deadlift, the top of the kettlebell swing. You're standing in what we call a plank. So I'm going to demonstrate and explain the plank, because I want you to incorporate a plank as kind of a warm up to turn on your nervous system, get your core fired up, get every muscle in your body awake and energized and ready to do your work. And it's not a long workout. A warm up, I do it for 5 breaths, and that's it. So I'm going to pass this phone to my buddy Paul. He's going to hold it for a second on the counter here. Yeah, just hold it like this, and I'll tell you. Yeah. All right. I'm going to be down. Okay, good. So I want to explain something in the plank. You're going to pull your shoulders down. You're going to squeeze your glutes. So I'm going to get on the floor. Go ahead and angle it down with it. So hold it again. Get up here. Okay. So I'm going to get on my forearms and then my toes. And then I'm going to retract those shoulders, squeeze the glutes, squeeze everything. Total tension. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's a 5-breath plank. And that's my warm up for my clients and patients before they start lifting. And you don't need to do very many of them. Just one is enough. I'm not trying to see how long I can hold it. I'm using the plank for a purpose. The plank in and of itself, I think, is a silly exercise to spend a lot of time on. There's so many better ones. But that's all I have for today for the deadlift. I'd like to get back, teach the swing, which is part 2. But this is enough. Practice this: the hip hinge, the plank, and the deadlift. And again, kitty litter bag. I'm trying to create functional strength. Functional strength is the strength that you need for your daily activities. Grandmom is not going to be a running back for the Ravens. She just wants to take the laundry basket downstairs and not have a bad back. This is how you do it. Slow, smart, be patient with yourself. That's it. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good.
Thank you, Doc.